Hi, Osama is here, and in this tutorial I want to talk about the MIP 3.3. It is an observational dynamic logic method according to the taxonomy of the 29R-03. It's a dynamic, contemporaneous, contemporaneous period analysis. What source validation protocols do we need? For basic implementation, we need the baseline validation. So in this method, we will compare an update to an update. However, in the first window, we will compare the first schedule update to the baseline schedule. So that's why we need a baseline validation. We need to identify the baseline, and definitely we need it as a reference so we can evaluate the overall project delays. We also need the update validation. It's very important. It is one of the SVPs for basic implementation because we are comparing an update to an update. For enhanced implementation, we can use the as-built validation. In other words, we wanna verify and make sure that the as-built is accurate inside the schedule updates. So, you can go back and check more details about the SVPs in the 29R-03. What is the process? And I'm gonna go step by step in this tutorial. But first, I'm gonna give you a high level of how it looks like. In the first window, we will compare the first schedule update to the baseline. We will identify gains and delays to the critical path and near critical path as well. In subsequent windows, we will compare each update to the previous update to identify gains and delays as well to the critical path and near critical path. The objective is to analyze the project delays throughout the project and identify the root cause of the delay. So let's go to Primavera and do the analysis step by step. I'm gonna perform my analysis in this format. For each window, I'm gonna identify the critical path and evaluate the delays and gains. And I'm gonna do that on window basis. For window 1, so the window 1, it will start from the baseline until the data date of the first schedule update. So that's my window 1. And to start the analysis, I'm gonna always show the performance of the critical path at the beginning of the window. So in the first window, the beginning of the window is the baseline. So I'm gonna say something here as critical path status as of baseline. Project delay, definitely 0. And what is the forecasted completion date? So in our case, it's the contract completion date. Let's go back to Primavera. And I have the baseline file and 3 schedule updates. So we can have more reps and so we can become familiar with the process. I'm gonna open the baseline. It's 13th of September. And let's review the critical path. Okay, so we have 2 areas in the project, the warehouse and equipment. The critical path in the baseline is related to the warehouse activities. Okay, so we know it's going from the excavation. If I will go to the first update, I want to identify the delays and the gains in this critical path. So this is the critical path of the first schedule update or the end of the window. It's the same critical path. It did not change. I have some actuals in the excavation. I also assigned the baseline as a baseline in this file for my easy reference. So let's go to the project start. It did not change. So let's copy these activities. So project start, And I'm gonna go for excavation as well. Okay, so what is the forecasted completion at the beginning of the window, like the baseline dates? So for the project start, it is 1st of August. And at the end of the window, which is my first schedule update, it's the 1st of August as well. Excavation, forecasted completion. At the beginning of the window, it was 10th of August, as per the baseline. That's the beginning of the window. Okay, let's go back to Primavera. And at the end of the window, which is my first schedule update, we are expecting delays here. So 13th of August. Okay, activity delay and the savings. I don't have any delays in the project start milestone, but I have 3 days delay. And if I have savings, I'm gonna put them in negative, as a negative figure. And I will put them in parentheses, as you can see here. So I can distinguish between the delays and the gains. What the project delays are, 3 days as well. Forecasted completion is 16th of September against 13th of September baseline. So it is 16th of September. So that's 16th of September. And we have also 3 days delay in the project as well. We can mention in the remarks, maybe site obstructions. Okay, so what is my conclusion? I'm gonna have, merge these cells. And as of update 1. So that's my conclusion. I have 3 days delay, and that's my forecasted completion date. And let's say maybe have a different color for it, and different color here as well. And I'm gonna highlight that in yellow because I'm gonna keep it as a reference if I wanted to compare to the baseline. Okay, let's go to window 2. In window 2, the start of the window is the data date of update 1. The end of the window is the data date of update 2. Okay, so I wanna first update the critical path of at the beginning of the window, like we always do. Okay, so we can take copy here and paste it here. Okay, right, because I wanna first look at the critical path update or status at the beginning of the window, okay, which is update 1. Okay, so what happened in window 2? I wanna go to update 2 right now, and I have assigned 2 baselines. I wanna assign the update 1 as a baseline, and I'm gonna assign the baseline itself as a second baseline, because we are comparing an update to an update. So it makes sense to assign the schedule update or previous schedule update as a baseline. So BL1 is my previous schedule update. We can see, by the way, that the critical path shifted. So it is not the warehouse anymore. It's going through equipment, but I have to give an update to the critical path at the beginning of the window to identify any delays or gains during this period. Okay, so excavation, what happened to excavation? It is completed, so I don't have to mention it because it doesn't really add any value, because the critical path is driven by activities that are progressing or non-started. So I'm not gonna look at excavation, but I'm gonna look at compaction because it is still progressing and it is somehow driving the path even though it is not critical. So I'm gonna take the compaction. What is the completion date at the beginning of the window? I will go to the previous schedule update, so it is 20th of August. Okay. End of the window, my current schedule update, or update to 20th of August as well. If you are working on your own, you can open both Primavera and Excel side to side, but because it's a demo, I wanna make the content visible and very clear. But if you are working on your own, you can, maybe open both applications at the same time to save time and make it easy for you. What is the activity delay? 0. What is the project delay here? 0, because the critical path of previous schedule update is showing 0 delay right now. So the forecasted project completion, assuming if it will come through that path, will be 0 as well, right? Because the activity delay on the critical path here is 0, and it is not driving, by the way, because sometimes you're gonna have a longest path and maybe near critical paths, and they will all have negative. So in my case here, I don't have, any delay. And this path, for example, it will end with backfilling 16th of September. My project baseline, if you remember, it's gonna be 16th of September as well. So that's why I'm gonna show that the forecasted completion date from this path is 0, or it's the contract completion date. So the project delay is 0. That's the project delay within the period. Over this period only. It is not cumulative, okay? Forecasted completion date is 16th of September. And if I go to Primavera, you will find that that's my forecasted completion from this path. And because sometimes you're gonna have a longest path and near critical paths as well. So from this path, it's the 16th of September. And remarks, here's what happened. This path had 3 days delay, but in the second window I showed that I can continue to complete these activities as planned, right? So what happened during this period is I achieved some form of acceleration or delay recovery. Acceleration in the remarks, because if I have 3 days delay, it's gonna pass over to all subsequent activities, but this did not happen. I'm gonna forecast right now that I will complete this set of activities as planned, or of course as planned, not as planned of the baseline, but as planned compared to the previous update, because we are comparing everything an update to an update. And I have 0 project delay in this period, because overall I have 3 days delay to the project. Because in the second window, that's my project completion, 16th of September, and it is 3 days delay against the baseline. But over this period only, there are no additional delays, and no additional delays also in that activity during this period only. But I have a new critical path right now, so I have to show that. So I'm gonna merge that and I will show critical path shifts in window 2. What is the path here? I will not mention the equipment delivery because it is completed. So for the equipment installation, we can analyze that. Completion at the beginning of the window, it is 22nd of August, which is the first schedule update. End of the window, my current schedule update is 28th. Activity delay, 60 days. In this period, project delay, 1 day, okay, 17th of September. my last window showed 16th of September. So the delay is 1 day, in this window only, because it's a window analysis. Forecasted completion is 17th of September. So I have 1 day delay in the project during this period only. And we can mention here something like maybe site clearance to justify why the installation of equipment got delayed. Site clearance, obstructions. And let's go back to Primavera. Okay, that's it. I don't have to list all activities. I just want to analyze the behavior, the critical activities in particular. My conclusion, we can take this copy, and it is as of update 2. My conclusion is I gained 1 day delay during this period, and that's my forecasted completion date. Window 3. So as always, I'm gonna analyze the critical path at the beginning of the window. I take that copy. I'm just trying to change the color because at the beginning of the window, I want to give it this color, but my conclusion at the end of the window, I will highlight it in green. So that's why. Okay, let's go to the third schedule update. And I have assigned update number 2 as a baseline as well. So the critical path did not change. It still belongs to equipment. So I'm gonna give my update. I will perform my analysis in this section. Equipment installation as well. I'm not gonna refer to any completed activities. So I have that activity, equipment installation. Equipment installation. It's the same activity. It hasn't been completed yet. The completion date at the beginning of the window, we can actually refer to that date, the 28th of August, because this is the date that belongs to update number 2. So the end of the window here is the start of the window here. What is the end of window? 30th of August, which is update 3. Activity delay, 2 days in this window only. Project delay, 2 as well. Because if we go back, so overall the forecasted completion is 19th of September. It's 2 more days delay. Okay, my conclusion as of update 3, and that's my conclusion. We can mention something like maybe partial site clearance obstructions, and the overall delay is that's actually 19th. And it's 2 days delay. Okay, so my conclusion so far, and you will keep repeating these steps, right? So my conclusion is overall 60 days delay. 13th of September is the contract to completion, but my forecasted completion so far is 19th, so it's 60 days overall. You can also double check this way. So I have 3 days project delay in the first window, plus 1 day delay in the second window, plus 2 days delay in the third window. So overall 60 days, which aligns with our conclusion here. So 60 days delay, and I have the forecasted completion date reflecting that. And that's it. You're just analyzing the delays and identify the delay and the gains on the critical path and near critical paths as well, if you have to, like when we have done the same here in window 2. And also identify the causes of delay. What are the advantages of this method? It can consider concurrency in the calculation because it's an update to an update, so we can evaluate the contractor's progress if we want to. It can consider acceleration, as I showed you in my example. We had some acceleration, but if you are performing 3.1 or 3.2, you will not recognize acceleration because everything is in the as-built. You know, the as-built shows you everything, so it doesn't really help you recognize the acceleration. You must do it on update to an update so you can recognize any acceleration. It's a more realistic and reliable analysis because it can consider the schedule updates, okay, and the changes related to critical path. Disadvantages: the segregation of responsibilities might be subject to challenges by the opposition. For example, in my analysis, I mentioned the site obstructions and some site clearance issues, but the client might say, no, the delay is because of something else. It's because of you did not have manpower yet, or you have poor manpower skills. So it can be subjective somehow. It's time consuming because if you have to go through the process for more activities in more windows in large and complex projects, it's gonna take some time. It's costly because you must have a team, you know, that will support this analysis. We use it for complicated projects. It can be settable because it can factor the dynamics of the schedule changes and the alterations in critical path. You can use it if you have the baseline and the schedule updates. You must have strong records so you can perform effective analysis. And if what you want is a window analysis, definitely this method will be suitable. What are the limitations? If you are short on time, if you want to perform a quick analysis, it is not the method for you. The analysis can be subjective because each party might have its own story, you know, because in my analysis as a contractor, I might have a certain story, you know, but the client or the opposition might have a different story, you know, so it takes some time to validate the information and it can be subjective. So that's one limitation as well. One limitation is about sufficient records, because if you have insufficient records, it will compromise the whole analysis. Because when I mentioned site clearance issues or site obstructions, I must have substantiation in my records. Okay, maybe photos with date stamp that support my claim, or daily reports, minutes of meetings, correspondences, so you can have a better chances in winning the claim or the delay analysis in your favor. The MIP 3.3 is observational method. We only observe the delay manually, as I showed you. You analyze the planned versus actual. You do not model the delay. You do not add or delete any activities to model the impact. It's dynamic because the method does not rely on a single set of CPM logic. Unlike the 3.1 and the 3.2, the 3.3 compares an update to an update. So the CPM logic, it changes as a measuring point every time. So that's why it's dynamic. Periodic, we perform the delay analysis in Windows using the periodic progress. What is the periodic mode? We can have it all periods, fixed periods, for example. The way I showed you, I have done it on an update to an update, so it can be on weekly or monthly basis, or it can be grouped periods as necessary based on project phases or delay events. So this is everything I wanted to cover regarding the MIP 3.3 observational dynamic as is.